Hello, my fellow achievers. Today we're going to be talking about individual development plans. What is it, what goes into it, and how you can use it to be more successful. So if you're interested, make sure you press like and subscribe and stay tuned. As promised, today we're going to be talking about individual development plans and basically answering the question, why do I need one? This is part of a larger workshop that myself and a fellow graduate student, Vanessa Peters, came up with and shared with our graduate program. An individual development plan, or IDP for short, is basically a tool that you decide to make progress in your life and to attain certain goals. It allows you to identify long and short term goals, then create an action plan to address maybe some shortcomings or things that you need to improve to reach those goals. You can also put many progress markers, create a timeline for yourself to make sure that you're on track, and it also gives you a really structured way to talk to any key players that are involved in your process. So this can be your managers for those of us who are in graduate school, this can be your advisors. So an IDP is really your guide to success that you create yourself based on your interests, your skill sets, and even your values and what you want to accomplish in life. Before creating your individual development plan, I always suggest and encourage for people to do what we call a SWOT analysis. And it basically allows a person to assess their strengths, their weaknesses, opportunities for improvement, and anything that will adversely affect what you want to accomplish. And what we identify that as being a threat. So for your strengths, those can range anywhere from your soft skills, if you're a people person, if you can work in teams, from technical skills like instrumentation that you're able to uh, manipulate. Then we can move on to our weaknesses, which cover anything from those same categories as well. The soft skills, maybe you're not as comfortable with speaking in larger group settings. And then we can identify some opportunities for improvement. And those opportunities, they can range from any resources that we have that we can draw on. It can be a YouTube video with some content that you needed to learn. It can be maybe a workshop or a training module. If there are different individuals who can help you, you can connect with them and pick their brain. So, an opportunity is basically a way to address those weaknesses or to additionally combine those strengths to get to the next step. Some threats, some examples of threats, it can be your manager not seeing eye to eye with you. It can even be personal things such as you have a child and you have to figure out daycare simultaneously. So, a threat doesn't necessarily mean literally someone coming with an axe, but it can be anything that will prevent you from accomplishing your goals. So, before completing or embarking on creating your individual development plan, it's good for you to kind of assess and evaluate what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, any opportunities to improve or get to the next level, and then really taking a hard look at some threats that you may be currently experiencing, you might experience in the future, and thinking about those things as you go on to create your IDP. Taking what we learned in our SWOT analysis, we can now apply it to IDP and some of the ingredients or questions that we need to ask ourselves before we create this document. So I always like to start with the passion part. What do I love doing? What energizes me? These are questions that you can ask yourself. What motivates me to kind of roll out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning? And this is really important because you need to have some type of motivation behind creating your guide to success or ladder to success. The next thing, Similar to our SWOT analysis is our strengths and our weaknesses. So, what am I great at? Where do I want to be? And then the better question is, what gap? How do I identify that gap? So you can ask yourself, what are the things that are important to learn or get better at? And what's really important here is that we're putting it in the context of an organizational need. So that can be if you are an employee or if you are a graduate student, what are the requirements? What is in your job description? What is lacking that you need to address? So, for example, what does the organization need? I need to create an action plan that is going to allow me to provide a service, right? So, for the case of a graduate student, I really love doing research. I am great at technical writing, but the end game is to graduate, right? So maybe my important thing to learn or get better at would be to understand a particular instrument. And in the context of organizational needs, my graduate program requires me to publish X amount of papers. So that's an example of kind of drawing it all together for passion, competence, and organizational needs. So, within the context of an employee who is working maybe in the social work realm, their passion may be to really help individuals. What they're really great at is creating a safe space for their clients to really share their issues, and to make progress. Where they want to be is maybe a licensed clinician. And so, what's important for them is to get hours under a licensed clinical social worker so that they can attain their own license. And they have already identified a position or job description where their services, them now being a licensed clinical social worker, will actually be of use. So, kind of combining all of these things will pretty much ensure success. Your IDP document should have a list of some short term and long term goals, whether that's within the next 3 months, 6 months, a year to 5 years. Those should all be explicitly listed. Then using the SWOT analysis that you did before starting your IDP, you can just plop in your strengths and your weaknesses, and especially taking a hard look at those weaknesses, making sure that you're going to be addressing them in the next step, which is to plan for your professional or academic growth. Now, those plans can consist of creating kind of logistics tools like incorporating things that you need to do into your planner or your calendar every day. It could also be getting kind of a better look at what your time looks like. Are you being as efficient as possible with your time? Are you getting distracted during the day? It could also be you having kind of like a check in with someone else, whether that's your manager or a peer or a kind of a creating accountability system for yourself. And then it can also be kind of some strategic things like, okay, I want to learn XYZ within this particular timeline. I want to become proficient in this instrumentation. I want to have had at least 3 opportunities to practice my public speaking skills. Whatever it is that's on your kind of improvement list, you have to create a plan that you know will work for you and that you will be able to stick to accomplish your goal. And then the last thing, you don't explicitly have to write this down, but listing the key stakeholders in your process, and then also setting kind of a concrete, at least frequent meeting time with those key stakeholders so that you can get everybody on board and on the same page with your progress and your goals. And then lastly, make sure you act on it. The individual development plan is a living, breathing document. It should be continuously changing as you yourself develop and grow and kind of change the direction that you're going in. So have fun with it. An IDP can even consist of some more personal things. Like I want to learn how to cook. So whether that means I'm watching the cooking channel or I'm trying at least two recipes new every week, those are things that you can put. It's really just a tool for you to assess your shortcomings, identify your long and short term goals, and then really just strategize and make a plan to make that goal happen. So, thanks for joining us.
I hope you liked the video and that it gave you some useful information and tips. If you want to know more, or if you have any other questions or anything that comes to mind that you want me to talk about in future videos, make sure to drop it in the comments. Thanks. See you soon.